So today we're doing a deep dive into what looks like a classic market failure. In Ghana, something like 75% of people are still cooking with wood or charcoal.
And the consequences are just staggering.
Hmm.
You're looking at around 18,000 premature deaths a year from household air pollution. Massive deforestation.
It's a huge problem. But we're going to look at a really interesting solution from a company called Toyola Energy Limited. They basically decided to tackle this with scrap metal and a piggy bank.
It's a fantastic case study in what people call the triple bottom line. People, planet, and profit. They launched back in 2006, not as an NGO, but as a for-profit business.
Okay, so let's get into the product. It's called the Toyola Coal Pot. It still uses charcoal, which in a world pushing for solar and electric, that feels like a half step, maybe?
It is, and that's the big debate. They'd call it a bridge technology. The design itself is clever. It's got this hourglass shape and a ceramic liner.
Made by their own subsidiary, KT Ceramics, right?
Exactly.
Hmm.
And that liner is the key. It holds heat so well that it cuts charcoal use by 30 to 50%.
50%. Okay, so that's a real saving, both in emissions and in money. But here's the sticking point. The stove was about $7 or $8.
Yeah, which doesn't sound like much to us, but for their target customers, it's a massive upfront cost.
So how did they get around that? I mean, how do you sell a product to people who can't afford it?
Well, this is the genius of it. They didn't just sell a stove, they sold a financial system. It was called the Toyola Money Box.
Which is pretty much what it sounds like, a piggy bank.
It's basically a locked metal box.
Yeah.
So you get the stove on credit, and you also get this box. The idea is every single day you're saving money because you're using less charcoal.
Okay.
You take the coins you saved, the money you didn't spend on fuel, and you just drop them into the locked box.
So you're literally paying for the stove with the savings that the stove itself is creating.
Precisely. An agent comes by, unlocks the box, and collects the payment. The stove pays for itself in just 3 or 4 months.
That's brilliant. It completely de-risks it for the consumer. But what about for Toyola? I mean, they're a startup floating all this inventory to people with no credit history.
Right. How do they fund that? Well, this is where the carbon market comes in. Toyola was one of the first to get registered with the gold standard back in 2009.
So they were selling carbon credits.
Yes, but to do that, you have to prove the stoves are actually being used. You can't just sell a stove and claim the carbon offset.
A stove sitting in a corner isn't saving any charcoal.
Exactly. And trying to verify that in rural Ghana is almost impossible.
Yeah.
But the money box payment records, that was their proof.
Oh, wow. If a family is making payments, it means they're using the stove and saving fuel.
Yes. That payment data became the verification they needed to sell the carbon credits. And that revenue helped subsidize the stoves and fund their growth.
It's a really elegant model, and the supply chain was just as grounded, right?
Totally. They used discarded scrap metal for the stove bodies, basically recycling. The liners were from local clay. And for scaling, they had a train 2 rule.
Train 2.
Every artisan they trained had to go on and train 2 more people. So instead of a big central factory, they created this decentralized network of producers.
Which lets them expand really fast. Ghana, Togo, Nigeria.
It did. But that's when they ran into what you could call the scaling paradox.
Which is what?
The whole money box system is built on trust, on personal relationships. The local agent knows the families. But when you scale up to 150,000 stoves a year,
You're not dealing with neighbors anymore. You're dealing with strangers.
and default rates start to go up, that transition from a relationship business to a mass market one is where so many social enterprises get into trouble.
Then there's the other issue we touched on. Is the technology itself becoming obsolete? Is this bridge just getting too long?
That's the core question now. Everyone agrees the end goal is clean energy like LPG or electric. But the grid isn't there yet for millions of people. Toyola's argument is that a better charcoal stove is the best, most realistic option for the poorest right now.
So looking back, their legacy is really proving that the base of the pyramid is a workable market, but only if you nail the financing.
You have to match their cash flow.
Which brings us to today. You see these huge carbon market deals like the Ghana-Switzerland agreement starting in 2025. There's a lot of new money coming in.
The market is definitely heating up again.
So here's the final thought for you to chew on. Where does all that new money go? Does it fund more of these bridge solutions like Toyola's, which deliver an immediate, if imperfect, benefit to the poor? Or does it all chase the high-tech, shiny electric solutions and risk leaving the people who need help most stuck in the smoke?
That's the big question. And the answer really determines who gets to breathe clean air over the next decade.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to Mission Possible, innovating for the world's most marginalized. This podcast is built on the outstanding work of our students, whose curiosity and commitment drive much of the research and storytelling you hear. Each episode is grounded in academic research and shaped through close collaboration with our partners. To learn more about the research and partnerships behind this podcast, feel free to contact us. Thank you for joining.